Yay, we are live on air. I just love this is a tiny little piece to camera that I love the fact that this presentation is all about how to get online, and it has just taken us 16 minutes to work out how to get this Google Hangout online. No, it hasn't, 30 seconds. Anyway, lovely to be with you at this Small Business Saturday talk. Misha, are you going to just pop your head around? I'm here with Michelle Ovens, campaign lead of Small Business Saturday. Thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Emma Jones. I'm founder of Enterprise Nation, which is the UK's most active small business network. We help people start and grow their own business through having a lively blog, through lots of books that we publish each year, events, lots of events. We have a big event on Saturday called Startup Saturday, and campaigning on behalf of small business. So delighted to be here with Small Business Saturday because I think it's a fantastic campaign to encourage consumers to go and buy from their local retailers. Hopefully for everybody who's listening, you will know it's on the 6th of December, so please do go out and buy from your local shops. But today's presentation, a little bit of a presentation, is about getting online as opposed to having a physical retail shop, and more specifically getting online for less than £100. I'm a huge believer in starting a business on a budget, so without having to go to the bank or to get into debt before you start, but to start a business, make sales, build cash flow, and then maybe consider taking loans thereafter. So I have an audience here who are online, but maybe with websites that they would maybe like to do some other things with. So I will take you through a few slides, which will be about 20-25 minutes. I'd love to show some sites that I think are websites that have done things very well, and then we'll open up for questions, which I think we can take from people who are listening in and also from the audience here at Somerset House, which is our beautiful learning centre, which sadly you can't see. Actually, maybe I should just, this is the lovely, if you can see in the background, Finchy Tida Finch, which is a beautiful jewellery business who sell online and via pop-ups. So if you can see the slide here, which hopefully you can, introduction to the presentation and Small Business Saturday. So let me start with the basics in terms of getting online on a budget. The first thing you have to buy when starting out is your domain name. We are big fans of .com, the domain at Enterprise Nation. If you can find a name with a .com attached, you're in luck. And of course, the way in which you buy a domain is you go to a registrar. So there are companies like GoDaddy, 123reg, 1&1. These are the kind of the biggest registrars. And you'll pay maybe about $3.99, which you can buy a domain and hosting for a 12-month contract. So it's very cheap to get started in terms of having your brand name online. A couple of tips to think about when buying a domain: try and find something which is a name that is easy to spell and easy for people to remember. Because what you don't want to be doing, bearing in mind you've hopefully when you start a business, you start it for life, what you don't want to be doing is saying to people on the phone all the time, this is how you spell my company name. There's a hyphen, there's a word, there's a letter, there's a number. So try and find something that's simple. And as I say, the ideal domain is a .com, but maybe it is that the .com isn't available, and therefore you can, there's lots of other domain suffixes available at the moment. .co.uk, .co, .london has just started. And another consideration for your domain name is maybe to put in your domain the kind of words that people will be searching for when they're looking for your product or service. So if it's Jermaine's Cupcakes, I don't know whether that's what you would kind of want to be calling it in terms of searching for that particular item. So do consider those things in terms of your domain and hosting. I've mentioned some basic pages here, the About Us page, news, products and services, FAQs and contact, but I'm going to come back onto that in terms of the importance of the About Us page on your website, which I'll come back to in a moment. So in terms of starting your presence online, the most straightforward and simple way to get started is by blogging. So there are 3 free blogging tools, 4 actually, that are listed on here. Just in case you can't see them, it's Blogger, WordPress, Tumblr and TypePad. These are all free blogging platforms. And for those of you that kind of aren't aware, blogging is the discipline where you write about the thing that is your expertise. You upload pictures to your blog, you click publish, and you have started to chronicle whatever your expertise is. The great things about blogs is you can very quickly become an expert in your field if you're starting a blog. And maybe at this point, if I show you a couple of blogs that I think are particularly good. This one is rockandrollbride.com, which is a business that we have profiled. Kat Williams, who is the founder of this blog, we profiled her in a book we wrote called Working 5 to 9, because at the time she was working a day job, and in fact her story, as I just kind of scroll down this beautiful blog here, her story is she wanted to get married in a rock and roll way. Well, she did get married in a rock and roll way, and she struggled to find suppliers, places to go to get her photos taken, and she just started a blog talking about her own experiences of getting married in a rock and roll way. And people started to come onto this blog, and they were reading, they were coming back, more people were coming on and reading, and she thought, maybe I'm on something here. And the reason why I love this blog, you can see, first of all, it's incredibly visual. And what Kat is now in the privileged position of having is people aspire to have their weddings on this blog. So people will send her content and these fantastic images of their rock and roll weddings. So Kat doesn't even have to write anymore. She maybe has to do a bit of editing. And what you can see here is certainly her own sense of style. And I'll show you her brilliant About Us page in a moment. But you can also see how Kat is commercializing her blog. If you can just see that here. So down on the right-hand side, she has vendors. So these are the people who she thinks are good to have as approved suppliers. Very clear here how you become an advertiser on her blog. Bearing in mind, she's commercializing this blog and it's still being created on blogger.com, which is still a free tool to use. So no cost to her. Here are some more vendors, which could be, there's a combination, and we'll come on to this in a minute in terms of how to make money from your blog, but this could be a combination of people paying to have their advertising on the blog, or she does a revenue share or affiliate sales. So when people click on these adverts and go on to buy, Kat would get a percentage of that sale. You can see that she's developed a new section here, hair accessories. And the other thing that I love about this blog, if we scroll down to the end, is she has gone from a blog into print. So you can now buy the Rock and Roll Bride magazine, which I think is fantastic. She's on issue 3. And just as I was mentioning, I don't know if you can see this if you're watching online, but I just mentioned the importance of the About Us section. So if you click here, Kat is a great believer and does very well out of it in the power of professional photography. So in terms of creating an image for your business, and this is one thing to say is people will make a decision in seconds when they come onto your website as to whether they want to deal with you. And what I love about Kat is her style comes across in everything she does, but these pictures embellish it. So she has these fantastic images. So when you come onto this blog, you get a feeling as to whether this is a blog that you want to stay on, read for a while, come back and visit. And this photography is just fantastic. We'll talk about photography as we go through the presentation, but again, gets across this great sense of style. She is the rock and roll bride, and that's what her blog is all about. So a fantastic example of a blog that's incredibly popular. Let me show you one that's a very different style. Oh, there we go, and very conveniently has come up. This is another great entrepreneur who came to a Startup Saturday event we did a couple of years ago called Tilly Walners. You may have seen her, she's been on the Sewing Bee on the BBC, and she runs a blog called Tilly and the Buttons. And I remember when Tilly first came to Startup Saturday, at our Startup Saturday event, everybody says what their business idea is before we start the session. And Tilly said, I keep a blog about sewing and I teach people how to sew and make their own clothes. And I said, how many visitors do you have? And she said, oh, about 40,000 a month. I said, this is fantastic. And it has continued to grow and grow and grow. And as I say, it's a very different style to Rock and Roll Bride. You can see here that what she's showing is sewing patterns. You know, it's very much Tilly's style, which we'll show in a minute. How to make a toil or muslin. I don't even know what a toil is, but Tilly does know what a toil is. And both Kat Williams and Tilly actually are incredibly synced in with what their community want to see, what their readers want to read, why people visit that blog, and what they want to look for when they get there. So again, beautiful imagery. We'll keep on coming back to this. The power of imagery, whether it's a blog or a website on which you're selling, desperately important to have this great looking imagery. So people want to spend time. So your dwell time you want to increase on your blog or your website. And looking at the commercialization of this blog, you may say it's great, it's a beautiful looking blog, it's fantastic, lovely pictures of sewing, but how does she make any money out of this? And actually, very nicely at the bottom, one of the ways in which Tilly has commercialized her blog is learn to sew with confidence, step-by-step sewing patterns. So over the past couple of years that Tilly has been running this blog, if we have a look in her shop here, you can see that she now sells sewing patterns. She's written a book, which she's making money from. She delivers workshops, and you can buy gifts. So the beautiful thing is, in terms of commercializing, we'll talk about this in a bit more detail in a moment, once you have built yourself up as an expert on your blog, you can then start sharing your content through books, patterns, webinars, tutorials, and you can charge people who want to find out more about the expertise that you offer. And here again, you can see on the right-hand side, click into the pattern shop to buy, click to buy my book, click to come on and pay to come to a workshop. And beautifully, she's now started to offer advertising. So I guess Genome is a sewing machine brand, and they will be paying for the privilege of being on Tilly's blog. We'll talk about newsletters in a moment. And again here, supporting sewing businesses, advertising down on the right-hand side of the blog. What I like about these blogs is the advertising and the commercial element of the blog doesn't interfere with your journey. So you as the visitor, you can still go on, you can still enjoy the images and the blog and the content. On the right-hand side, the subtle placing of the advertising does not put you off coming back to this blog. And that's maybe one thing to consider is as you commercialize your blog, maybe not to have pop-up adverts, which I'm sure we all hate, that put you off the journey that you're taking on that particular website. So a couple of great blogs there, rockandrollbride.com and tillyandthebuttons.com, who I think have done a wonderful job of knowing their community. They know their customers. For Cat Williams, it's any girl who wants to get married in a rock and roll way. For Tilly, it's any pretty much girl, again, actually, I hate to be sexist, but these probably are quite female sites. For Tilly, it's any girl who wants to make their own clothes and learn more about sewing. They are both obsessive about only putting content out that they know will interest their readers. So you would not find on Tilly's blog anything that's not related to sewing or that wouldn't educate and entertain her community. So two fantastic examples there of people who do that brilliantly well. So do consider starting via a blog. The next step you can take to get a presence online is to sell via powerful marketplaces. And I'm a huge fan of these marketplaces. Etsy is a very big website for anything that's handmade. So if you make beautiful products, you can upload them on Etsy. The way in which most of these marketplaces work is you will pay a small fee as a listing fee, and then you only pay a commission on sales. So the great thing for anyone starting a business on a budget is you're not paying out for a web presence, but you are getting your products and services on these websites. So if you make product, Etsy and not on the high street are very good. If what you do is business services, so make graphic design, IT consulting, coding, development, then there's some big websites like Elance and Odesk, peopleperhour.com. These are places where you can put a profile on that site and customers come and find you. And this is the great benefit of being on a marketplace, is these marketplaces go out and attract customers from all over the world, and then those customers come on, look at your profile, look for your products and click to buy. You don't have to create any website because you're listed on these. My stock photo is fantastic for any amateur photographers who would like to make money from their stock photography. So do consider these marketplaces almost as a first step to creating your own website. And then we get on to actually creating your own website. And of course, because the topic of this presentation is how to start for less than £100, I don't think you could go to a designer and developer and get anything done for less than £100. So therefore, what I'm suggesting is what I call template website providers. And I know people in the room can see this, but no one online. Is our space here is actually in conjunction with a brand called Moonfruit, which is up on the wall. It's a shame that no one else can see this, but we have a lovely wall with Moonfruit branding. And moonfruit.com is probably the UK's biggest template website provider. There are others, Squarespace, SuperDuper, Shopify, that it shows on here. But if I just show you how these work, And the reason why I love these template sites, if we go on to moonfruit.com, for example. So with Moonfruit, as it says, you can build a website or shop, click a design, it's free. So if I just scroll through, you can choose, you go on and choose any of these look and feel templates that you like and that you think suit your brand. So if I just hover over a couple of these, you can see that they're selling everything from t-shirts to audio, hi-fi equipment, surfing boards, a tea shop, IT services, vintage fair, cupcakes. We have a bakery here, which is lovely. Wine, should I show? That's probably very unprofessional to show that we are drinking wine. That's very Small Business Saturday for you. Accounting, again, Bite Me, which is another food-based business. So whatever your business is, you can choose a template that suits you. Once you've chosen your template, you upload your products, click publish, and you have a website. And what I love about these template website providers is you don't need any technical knowledge to do it, because you choose your theme, upload your products, click to publish. So you don't need any technical knowledge. And the beauty of these is once you've created a website, certainly for Moonfruit, I know this is the case, you immediately get a mobile optimized version of your website. So you don't even have to think about going to another developer to say, can I have a mobile version, because it's automatically created for you. And they also, their responsibility is to keep your site live. And if I just show another one, Super Duper, this is very focused, if you can see this here, if you're watching online, this is very focused on creative companies. So they have beautiful, if I can show, here, showcase, they have beautiful fashion products, handbags, beautiful kind of products that are sold on Super Duper websites. So again, what these business owners will have done is upload their shoes, upload product prices and descriptions, and then click publish, and you have a working website. And this is the showcase, so of course they're kind of going to show their best websites, but if I just show you, I love this, this is a particular favorite of mine. On Super Duper, they have a client called Loglike. So if we visit this store, you go on to loglike.co.uk. Would you like me to stop, or would you like to continue? We have late coming guests who've just come in. Would you like me to start all that over again? So this beautiful website, which is one of my favorite websites at the moment, so loglike.co.uk, again, thinking back to, and it's one thing that I'll keep on repeating, is as a potential customer, I'm going to make my decision in seconds as to whether I want to buy from you as a company. So what I love about this site is you go on, it looks professional from the start, beautiful photography, clear pricing, clear descriptions of what this company offers, nice little Christmas theme here. So say I click through and say I'd like to have a holly leaf placemaker, beautiful photography, it's a great asset of this site. I can share it, which is great, so I've got the addition of sharing it. So say I would like to buy the small one, 6 centimetre, click to buy holly leaf and placemaker. So as I'm clicking through, it's a very easy customer journey. Say I want to check out from here because that's all I want at £23.95. I check out, I can either pay via PayPal, which you can see here, or I just put in my credit card details. So if I'm the business owner of Loglike, I don't have to have developed any of that payment processing because, as you can see here, it says e-commerce by Super Duper. So it's Super Duper as the template website provider, they provide all of that. So all I'm doing is taking that lovely photography, uploading product descriptions, putting my prices on, but the rest of this is taken care of. And you can even see, I don't think anyone watching online can see this, but you can even see under the URL, it's checkoutsuperduper.me, but the website itself, as we go back to, it is a Loglike website. So you do not need to concern yourself with how do I plug in PayPal, what shopping cart do I use to put on my website, all of that comes with the template. So template websites, I think, are a great place for startups to start. And in terms of pricing, because I know that's one thing that we're very focused on today, is Moonfruit, you just saw actually, you can have a free version, so there's no cost. But the free versions with Moonfruit tend to be content-only websites. So if you're just going to be writing, there's no price to pay. But when you start uploading products and selling, then there is a small price. But most of the website providers, and certainly the ones mentioned here, Squarespace, Moonfruit, Shopify, Most of them are about £12 to £25 a month to operate, which I still think, to save the headache of you having to build a website and maintain it, I still think is definitely worthwhile. So template websites is definitely an option. A little bit of legalities in terms of things you have to do to be legally compliant to trade online. And actually, just a couple of great websites for legal terms and conditions there's a great website called clickdocs.co.uk where you can download basic legal templates and terms and conditions that you can upload onto your website. And there is also a very good lawyer called Joanna Tall, who's focused on small business. She runs a business called Off to See My Lawyer. And she also has downloadable templates that you can click on and have a look. But these are the things that you should have on your site. So your privacy policy, you know, what will you do with people's data if they're giving you data for a newsletter, which we'll talk about in a moment, protecting your copyright and stating who you are, which actually maybe at this point, I will cover the About Us section on your website because it's something that is a bugbear of mine that going back to people will make a decision in seconds as to whether they buy from you. One of the sections they are probably most likely to click on is the About section. They want to know who they're buying from. So if I show someone who I think does this brilliantly, there is a great brand called Jimmy's Iced Coffee. I don't know if you've come across it, run by a great guy called Jim Cregan, who always dresses up in a coffee carton like this. But with his product, of course, it's particularly important that you get to know who Jimmy is because you're buying a product called Jimmy's Iced Coffee. Sorry. It's okay. In fact, that is Jimmy. For everyone in the room who can see that delightful looking image of a man bare-chested with coffee dribbling down him. But the reason for kind of wanting to show this site, I think it's, first of all, it's a fabulous site in terms of its design, but it's this Who's Jimmy section. So you come onto the site and you say, right, do I want to buy this guy's iced coffee? Who is Jimmy? So you click in and it's, first of all, beautifully presented. And there's a lovely story of Jim going to Australia. He discovered iced coffee, came back to Britain, couldn't find iced coffee and said, right, I'm going to set up in business with my sister here, Suze, and we're going to dress up in these crazy coffee cartons and we're going to go and sell iced coffee. It's a beautifully told story. And then at the end, just the final bit I love, very serious business now being sold in Budgeons, Ocado, Selfridges, London's, Waitrose, Tesco, etc. So if I am a customer and somebody says to me, hey, have you come across Jimmy's Iced Coffee? Maybe I'd look him on social media, which we'll cover in a moment, but I would also click onto his website, try and find out more about him, and he gets this story across brilliantly. If I think of just another final one, Johnny's Sister, very British brand. You can see it all at British made products. Very, very British brand. And what Johnny's Sister is they make these fantastic love letters, as they call them. So they're big cushions that are in alphabet love letter style. So here they have a little section, Discover Our Story. Oh, no, that's terrible. Live demonstration and there's no, oh no. Well, some pictures showing up. That could be our slow connection here. But when this About Us page works really well, you can actually see images of all the Johnny's Sister team, which you can see some of them here. But you, again, thinking back to me as a potential customer, I come onto this very British website. We just refresh on that just to see, because that's such a shame if they're not there. Hey, there we go. So this is Jane, the business owner. And you really feel, you get a sense of, do I want to buy from this company? These are the people behind it. Cutesy little picture of the dogs who are involved in the business as well. And just in that one page, they get across the company message really effectively. Again, the power of imagery. I will keep on saying this, the power of showing your team and putting your style across in your images is desperately important. So with your site, do take care of the About Us section on your site, because that should be the one page where you tell your story so that people say, this is someone I want to buy from. Okay, very briefly, because we've kind of covered this when we looked at the blogs, but 10 ways to make money from your blog or your website. And maybe we can make these slides available actually post the presentation, just in case people don't get everything down. So this first slide does reference Google AdWords, skim links, which is where you click on links and you as the website owner gets a little bit of money if people do that. And I have put these on there because they are ways in which you can make money off your site, but they're not ways that I think are particularly effective. Because going back to what we said before about good blogs, when we were talking about Rock and Roll Bride and Tilly and the Buttons, is what they don't do is they don't display advertising that is not relevant to the community of readers that are coming onto that blog. And your fear is if you put something called Google AdSense, if you serve that on your site, you have no control over the adverts that are served. So I put them on, but actually my preference at the moment in terms of making money from a blog or a website is this point about sponsored features. And this is where you are building your blog or building your website and you're building your readership. That readership is very valuable to potential corporate sponsors. And there are lots of big brands in Britain at the moment who would love to be associated with small businesses and reaching their audience. And thinking back again to Tilly's blog, so Tilly's blog, she teaches people how to sew. She has an audience, a very big audience now, of mainly ladies who are looking to make their own clothes and sew their own products. That is a very attractive audience to the sewing manufacturers and the machine makers who should be going to Tilly and saying, we would like to sponsor either straight advertising, which is not hugely remunerative, so find something that's higher value. What we would like to do, Tilly, is say you do a survey of your online visitors who are coming to you. We will pay you to do that, and we in turn get the results that we will then promote out nationally. So say Janone, I think that was the brand, but say it's Brother who makes sewing machines. Go to Tilly and say, right, we would love to find out more about the modern sewing maker or hand maker. Tilly does a survey to say, right, when did you pick up your skills? What age are you? Where do you live? What's your gender? Probably female. But Tilly finds out lots more about her audience. Brother pay her for doing that. She then turns that into a press release along the lines of 68% of people who are sewing picked it up when it was a skill at school and they would like to teach it to their children. That gives Brother content to put out to the media and everybody is happy. Tilly has been paid by Brother to go out and find out more about her community. Brother have got a very objective and trusted voice in the form of Tilly saying that more people should be sewing because it's good for you and it brings back skills that you learned at school. So what you have to think about if you're building a blog or building a website is who are the big brands who would like access to your audience, because there absolutely will be big brands. And one of the things I love about the small businesses that are starting at the moment is lots of people are starting niche businesses. And it's interesting at Startup Saturday, which I keep on referring to, when people introduce their idea and people are almost embarrassed if they say, I don't know, I'm developing HR services for award-giving bodies. And then they will say, oh, but it's very niche, it's a very small market. Well, they are the best businesses to be in at the moment, because the more niche your business, the lower your marketing costs, because you know exactly who your customers are, but the higher your customer loyalty, because your customers will keep on coming back because they can only get what they get from you. So the more you know about your customer, the more sellable that is to corporate sponsors who want to get access to your customers. So that is a great way to commercialize a blog, is to reach out to sponsors and say, right, I will give you advertising, but much more interesting, let's do a sponsored poll, let's do a sponsored podcast, which you can easily create. Let's do a sponsored series of webinars where we get experts, other experts to talk via my blog. You sponsor that. A great benefit of that is you've got people visiting your blog because they will log on to watch the webinar, so you get more traffic as well. So these are all the content creation pieces you can do that somebody else can sponsor. So you generate revenue on the back of it. Turn a blog into a book. Just a couple of quick things on that to not spend too long on this, but there previously, and again, no one can see this watching online, we're surrounded by print books in this room, but previously, if you wanted to publish a book, you would go to a publisher, you would go through a very long process of getting a book published that then gets sold in bookstores and on Amazon, whereas now you can go onto, there's two websites, maybe I'll just quickly show them, one called lulu.com and one called blurb.com, where you can self-publish. So if we go onto blurb.com, you upload content on your particular area of expertise. Let's maybe have a look in the bookstore and see what's just come out. So say Tilly, let's go back to her, even though she has just done a publishing deal, so she has gone the traditional route. But she would write about sewing, so I'd say her top 15 tips on sewing. You upload pictures, you click publish, and then you are the published author of a book. So here are those big words like art on the edge. These are all people who will be, that's probably just a wedding book, The Ultimate Guide to Fishing Lodges. How absolutely stunning. So somebody, I don't know if our connection is quick enough to actually click into that one, somebody has written The Ultimate Guide to Fishing Lodges. Whoever that person is now who's sending a press release to the media, say he's called Joe Blogs, and actually his living is made because he runs a fishing lodge. Joe Blogs now sends his press release. Joe Blogs, author of The Ultimate Guide to Fishing Lodges. It gives a journalist a much better reason to cover you because they say you must be the expert in your field. What the journalist doesn't have to know is Joe Blogs self-published and didn't go kind of down the traditional publishing route. Oh, we have clicked on that one. First, is it called Joe Blogs? Does it say there what the, oh, that's funny. Now, this is not a hugely good thing because the author doesn't seem to be giving their name at all. Oh, beautiful guide to fishing lodges here. And the other thing I like about these sites is whoever it is who did write this, who's clearly not doing it to build their own reputation, can either make this available free of charge for download or can charge for it. So producing a book can actually become an income generator in its own right. So Blurb or lulu.com are the sites to have a look at for that. Okay. When it comes to attracting customers back to your website, and we'll look in a minute briefly at social media, so I know we're due to be finishing at 5, so I'm going to hurry up a little bit. We'll look at social media in terms of how you attract customers onto your website in the first place. And in fact, actually, maybe we'll come back to that because it does seem a little bit, let's talk about attracting customers first. So you have your website or your blog, and this is a common question I get. Okay, I have my template website, I have my blog, how do I get people to come to it? And this is where social media has come into its own and hugely helped small businesses to drive traffic. So very briefly to cover the 5 main tools. Twitter, we have Rebecca tweeting in the corner right now. If you are not on Twitter as a small business owner, you should be. It's a fantastic tool, it's free, and for those of you that don't know what it does, it's less than 140 characters. You can quickly become an expert in your field, sharing resources, tweeting what you're doing, etc. It's just fantastic. And the 1 point, maybe the 3 points that I wanted to mention here is just the 3 types of content that I think are good to share on Twitter. One is sharing kind of useful information. So, you know, going back to Tilly and the Buttons, she will kind of say, hey, does everybody know that there's a new sewing pattern out, or there's a sewing show happening in Olympia, or did you see that a great seamstress just got an MBE or what have you? So just sharing useful things that are going on in that industry. Answering questions. So you kind of want to use Twitter to publish and broadcast what you're doing, but you also want to be responding to people and hopefully helping them out. I had someone who tweeted me a couple of days ago saying, can you help me come up with a name for my business? And I'd love to know if she chose the one that I went for, but I tweeted her back and said, what about this? So it's good to be responsive as well, rather than just pushing out your own materials. And then the 3rd type of content is social chit chat. So slightly lighter content, which is the bit that I struggle with because I only ever like talking about work, but there's kind of some bits, whether it's, you know, you're cooking from home and you want to show, well, maybe a cake went wrong, or here's my little niece who's just come into the kitchen, maybe she's a little chef in the making. So just lighter content is also quite nice to share, because when people are buying from your business, ultimately they're buying from you. So yes, they follow you because they want to see the resources you're sharing, but they also want to know a little bit more about you and your life. So Twitter is a must for small business. Facebook is just essential because there are so many people on it. So I think it's 1.2 billion people that Facebook now has on its site. The easiest way to make the most of Facebook is to create a business page for your business. And again, you can share information, deals, offers, have people liking your products. And very briefly, to show a company that I love, that I talk about lots because they've built a business off Facebook, is this lovely company called Morph Suits. I love the fact one of my favourite companies are just clearly in my URL history. Oh, nice new one. So Morph Suits is a fabulous business. This company started, they only got 2 pictures, how very unusual. This company started by 3 guys who were at university, and in fact, let's see what they're, oh dear. Oh, that's interesting. I probably shouldn't do this live. Critiquing the Morph Suits About Us page. That's not, I would have done that in a slightly different way. All right, I'm going to stop talking about that now because that is on record. But the Morph Suit story is 3 guys who were at university. They went out one night and someone was in an all-in-one men lycra suit. This guy was having lots of drinks bought for him. He was getting the best girls in the pub. And they said, we should start a business selling these things. And they had absolutely no money to do any promotion. So they'd got basic morph suits. Their range is just incredible now. But the point I wanted to make on this is if you go onto morph suits, if you go onto facebook.com/morph suits, which you can't right now, but if you go onto their Facebook presence, this is why you should never do live technical demonstrations. She says, quickly going back, do go onto Morph Suit's Facebook page with no advertising budget whatsoever. They did a lot on Facebook. It helps that they've got a very visual product of men in lycra suits kissing girls and doing crazy things. So people were liking it. And soon enough, they got 1.2 million likes on Facebook from having spent no money. And because they were so popular and 1.2 million likes on Facebook, they went to get funding, and they've just recently raised £4 million for the business to take it global. In fact, Candy knows them because their MD recently came on a New York mission with us to go and take on America. And it's just an incredible business to watch. But without Facebook, they wouldn't have a business because Facebook was the platform where they first got out to market, and they literally would not have been anywhere without Facebook. So incredibly powerful tool. LinkedIn is a very interesting, I used to think LinkedIn was very boring for small business, but I'm changing my view on this very quickly. LinkedIn is a great way, going back to that point in terms of how to commercialize your blog and find corporate sponsors. LinkedIn is the place to find marketing directors in big brands. So when you're making any pitch to large corporates, whether it be for sponsorship, to sell your products to them, LinkedIn is a fantastic contacts directory because most people have got a profile on there. So you can guess from it their email address or just find their email address. So LinkedIn is great for a contacts database, but also a feature of LinkedIn that I like for small business is how you can form a LinkedIn group around your product or service or area of expertise. It's free to do, and we have a LinkedIn group for Enterprise Nation advisors on the Growth Vouchers Marketplace. So these are business advisors who previously would not necessarily talk to each other from across different areas. But we formed a LinkedIn group, and now we've got 650 business advisors talking in that group. And it's a great way of essentially hosting an online meeting where you've got people talking. And lots of lovely things about LinkedIn groups. You can see all the time what your customers are thinking if your customers are in that group because they're chatting in a very comfortable setting, and you can do it free of charge. And you are essentially that event host. So that's a great feature of LinkedIn, I think, for small business. Pinterest, an incredible website for all things visual. And what I like about Pinterest is there's lots of evidence from Pinterest, but also objective research showing that people who go from Pinterest onto your website are much more likely to buy off your website than people referred from any other social media platform. And I think that's a reflection of the Pinterest demographic, that Pinterest tends to be affluent women. I can't put that in any nicer way, but it tends to be affluent women who are on Pinterest, and therefore when they go from Pinterest onto your website, they're in the mood to shop. So this is why lots of small businesses like to have a good Pinterest profile, because then customers will come over to them. Instagram, similarly, is brilliant. And in fact, I keep on hearing about businesses that are not even building websites anymore. They are totally starting on Instagram, putting pictures of their products and just basing their business off just having an Instagram presence. So again, free to do. These social media platforms have just been incredibly enabling for small businesses to get their products out there. And the final one is YouTube, because as I keep on hearing about businesses on Instagram, I'm also very aware at the moment of these YouTube stars, teenager. In fact, we profiled a lovely young entrepreneur recently who's got a business called Macaroon, where she makes, she's got a YouTube channel where she offers DIY crafting videos. And it's a certain type of video where no one speaks in it. It's got a particular technical term. No one speaks in the video. It just shows her hands doing certain things of craft with subtitles. And apparently it's a very popular genre on YouTube. And she is making a fortune from just putting up craft tutorials on YouTube. And we profiled her and she wrote to me and she said, there are teenagers making millions from their bedrooms on YouTube. And some names that you may have heard of recently because they're becoming much more famous, Zoella, who is the very young beauty girl who does beauty things on YouTube, Marcus Butler, lots of British stars actually. So they have their own YouTube channels, they get millions of viewers and they take a percentage of advertising. So once you've got millions of viewers, maybe it's only a couple of pence per view in terms of advertising, but of course that soon adds up when you've got lots of viewers. I'm not suggesting that every small business owner will have millions of viewers on YouTube, but what YouTube is fantastic for is you can create your own business channel on YouTube. You can take little bits of footage with your smartphone of happy customers, your office space, you at work, you giving instruction on what you do, and therefore this kind of DIY tutorial area. This is all content that is great for people to see. And actually, just rather than measure results, I'm just going to quickly go back to search engine optimization, because the point of all of this activity, so say you're blogging, you're tweeting, you've got a presence on Facebook, you've got a LinkedIn group, you're pinning your beautiful products on Pinterest. The reason you want to do all of this is that when anyone is searching for what it is that you offer, if you've got profiles across the web and you're active across the web with fresh content, you're going to come up very high in the search results. And everyone knows about kind of the number of people now who just search for stuff when they're looking for things online. They don't go direct to your website because they don't know you. They will Google it. And so where you want to be is you want to be, if not in the top 3 results, you want to be on the first page of Google. The way in which you can do that is you go and you have a presence on all of those tools that we've just mentioned. And just in case I don't get a question on it, because some people say, oh my goodness, how? You know, I'm working a day job, I'm starting my business on the side at nights and weekends, I'm making the product, I'm trying to get customers. How on earth am I going to find the time to be pinning, tweeting, LinkedIn, Facebooking? How am I going to find the time to do all of this? And my reply is not hugely helpful, because I do suggest that small businesses do a little bit of everything when you're first starting out. So you do have a profile on Instagram, you do have Pinterest, you do tweet, you do blog, and then over time you see where your customers are. You see where you're getting the highest levels of engagement from your customers, and then you focus in a little bit more on those channels that have got that engagement. So just quickly back to the point in terms of how to measure the results that you're getting. Google Analytics is fantastic in terms of a tool that says where people are coming from to your website. So it shows traffic that will be coming from different social media platforms, so you can see which ones are working and which ones are not working so well. It shows if traffic is coming from overseas, which is a really interesting thing to see whether you should be going global. If you've got lots of traffic coming from the US, maybe you should start putting your pricing in dollars as well as pounds, etc. So Google Analytics is great, it's free, so definitely worth keeping your eye on it. But there's some other measurement tools I've put in here. Clicky is something which is a heat map, which shows which parts of your website are the most popular. So it literally just puts heat maps across your site on where people are actively clicking and looking and spending the longest time. So as you're doing all of this activity, you can measure to see what people are liking, where they're coming from, and those results will help you determine what more or less you should be doing. I just wanted to go back a little bit because I'm just on a final point of support, but I just wanted to go back to this point in terms of attracting customers back. So you're using social media, you've got customers coming to you, or you've certainly got browsers coming to you. The way in which to attract them back, and actually I'm just going to, sorry to click around a bit, but actually go on to this slide first, which is have a newsletter. And it seems like the most basic thing, but once you have people coming onto your site, and I don't know if you noticed it with the Tilly and the Buttons blog, but it quite clearly said, sign up for my newsletter. And actually, if I just, again, just show you someone who does this really well, is there's a marketing guru called Seth Godin, who has written lots of fantastic books about marketing. And you could say, and in fact, by the fact, most of the sites and blogs we've looked at up until now have been very visual, they've been very product-based. This guy just sells what's in that crazy head of his, literally, because he writes books. So he is very big and incredibly successful on his newsletter capture. So first of all, you can just click on subscribe for free, but more importantly, if you wanted to go onto his blog, which lots of people read, actually just another thing to say about Seth Godin, which I always think is an important point about blogging. When we looked at the previous blogs, this is, I guess, kind of a case in point, the Tilly and the Buttons, the Rock and Roll Bride, their blogs were quite long, quite a lot of content, beautiful big imagery. Seth Godin shows, especially by this Crowding the Pan one, your blogs do not have to be long. He blogs every single day. Sometimes it will be long like that, and other times it will be shorter. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, where am I going to get the inspiration from? The Tiny Cost of Failure, what is that? That's like 4 lines. What I love about Seth Godin, that's 4 lines that has been tweeted 1,758 times and shared on LinkedIn at 601 times. It's like, that's crazy, but that's the pull of Seth Godin. And the point about here is if you're reading on his blog, you can quite clearly see, enter your email address, click to subscribe. So this man has now got an email, he's been doing this for a good few years. He will have an email database list of millions of people, millions, because he makes it very clear and easy as to how you sign up for his newsletter. So every time he launches a book, he's got lots of books, but when he comes out with a new book, he will literally almost not even have to go into the shops. He would literally email out his database and say, hey guys, you get the first dibs. Do you know that my new book is out? You can click here to buy and get a decent offer on it. So the point of having an email newsletter subscriber database is capture, and in fact, it's ironic actually that I have just gone onto his site, because one of the books that he wrote, which is where all of this stems from, and this was written years ago, is the book that he's probably most famous for is a book called Permission Marketing. And the whole philosophy around newsletters is what people are doing in signing up to your newsletter, someone is giving you permission to speak to them again. You know, I will give you my email, I give you permission to market yourself to me, to send me weekly newsletters, to send me good news, to send me details, etc. And I guess that would just be the other thing to mention is once you have put an email newsletter on your website, remember to send out the newsletter. So kind of do send one once you've captured people's data. So some great tools for email newsletters is MailChimp, which is incredibly well known, big US company, Constant Contact and Sign Up To. So these are 3 tools that you can have a look at as a way to encourage people to sign up to a newsletter and then send them details. So as a final point on this, just I guess kind of to recap in terms of your options for getting online, there is blogging as a first option in terms of a first step. Having a template website rather than creating your own and finding designers and developers who are very rare to find at the moment. Having a presence on marketplaces like Etsy, like eBay, like elance.com, which gives you that web presence without having to build anything. So that's a good way to get online. Attract people to your site by using social media. So kind of the big 5 tools that we've mentioned. Keep those customers coming back by having fresh content, maybe running a competition on your site, you agreeing to blog for somebody else who's a very popular blogger to then attract traffic back to you. Once you've got this traffic coming back, encourage people to sign up for an email newsletter so you can continue to talk to them and that they can give you their permission that you can do that. So this is all the way that you essentially increase your traffic and encourage them to buy. And just this final aspect is around, I guess, getting the support that you need throughout that journey, because there are lots of tools. I've mentioned 5 social media tools without including Instagram, Pollen, other, Vimeo, which is another video one, Vine, which is a Twitter video version. So there's, in fact, we had an event the other day and somebody put one slide up of social media tools and the whole slide was absolutely covered in logos. There must have been 150 tools. So there's a lot to keep on top of. And so get support from your peers to do that in online forums, coming to events like this where you can meet other people and say, right, what do you use for a blogging platform? Which template website provider do you like? So support from your peers is essential, but also tap into kind of experts. So enterprisenation.com, that's all we do is provide tech workshops, help, advice, etc. And we have lots of advisors on an Enterprise Nation marketplace. There's, in fact, I know Biz here in the room, there's a great government program called Growth Vouchers, which is where as a small business you can access up to £2,000 from the government, which you match spend with your own money to access advice to grow. And one of the categories of advice where you can get advice is called making the most of digital technologies. So this is where you can find an IT advisor. The government match spends with you, and you can get up to £2,000 to spend with that advisor who will help your company. So along your journey, surround yourself with your peers who are at the same stage as you, but also turn to the experts who actually have the practical knowledge to help you get online. And just very briefly, a cute little slide to show Enterprise Nation in terms of what we do. And thank you for your attention. Are there any questions from the room?
We've got a couple from Twitter.
Have we?
Those first.
Yeah. So everyone in here is stunned into silence. Can we have more wine, please?
Yes.
Which I am going to take some of.
So I work for Stage 1 on some of their content.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Been following you very closely in the last few months.
Do I owe you a blog?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, good.
Let's say yes.
No, well, I owe somebody at Sage Blog. I'm glad that's not you.
So at Stage 1, we're looking to support startups, especially in the run-up to Small Business Saturday. And
yeah, brilliant, absolutely.
One of the pieces of content that we're looking to create is actually around how small businesses can take their local community online. I was wondering if you had any top tips on that, because it's quite a challenging topic for small businesses, especially if they're not so used to using social media.
So when you say when small businesses take their local community online, you mean as in a small business owner has a website which therefore encourages their customers to buy from them online?
Well, it's more a question of, so if local, if small businesses have a relationship or build a relationship with their local community,
yep.
How can they then turn that into a loyal following online, for example? Do you have any suggestions of how they can then bring the relationships online on social media?
Well,
website,
I guess if you have a look, and this, were you here when I had a look at the Jimmy's Iced Coffee website?
Yes.
Okay, so he is very good at taking his community online. So, and this is not necessarily a local story because he's a national business, but you will go, say you go into Tesco's and you buy Jimmy's Iced Coffee. So you look at the bottle, first of all, it's got the website address on the packaging. So that's one way of getting your community online, is make sure you're displaying your website address so it takes them online.
Yeah.
And then once you get on here, I don't know, say let's have a look at this piece in terms of say hello. So to be fair, that's just kind of their contact address, but actually what I would have put there, which I think could be quite interesting, is a forum on here. So for people, say it was the local community, so say Jimmy wanted to run something where he says, right, I think more people should be drinking healthy milk to make, or a health campaign. Let's have more people drinking milk-based products because it's going to make them healthier. So if he wanted to take his customers' local community online, put your website address on your packaging, get people to come to your website, have a forum on the website that talks about that topic, which ideally is from your homepage so people can easily find it, and then relentlessly talk about that on social media. So as you can see at the top here, Jimmy's Iced Coffee is on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. So you clicked on his Twitter profile, you would go from the forum to say, right, you know, helping me drink milk has improved my bones, and it's got me and the kids out walking in the morning because we go and pick up the milk from the local shop. So that comes onto the forum. Jimmy's Iced Coffee then tweet that out with a hashtag so that you do a connected campaign.
Okay.
So first of all, use URLs on your packaging to get people on the website.
Okay. So it's really displaying the online presence.
It's displaying, but then also giving people space to talk once they get online.
Okay.
So giving someone, and if you wanted, so if Jimmy, I know I keep on talking about him, if he hasn't got a forum on his site, which he hasn't, if you want to plug in a forum to your website, there's a tool called Ning, N-I-N-G, which you can literally just plug in a forum onto your website and have people chat, but then carry that across social media so that people, and in fact, actually, if you can see Jimmy, they do this thing called Keep Your Chin Up, hashtag KYCU, which is a little bit of a campaign they run across social media. And actually theirs is just about happiness, but it's a funny little thing because when you drink from the carton, your chin, you can't do anything but keep your chin up, which is why it's quite amusing. but the thing is general well-being. So they have that across all of their social media activity. So I think, in essence, in terms of how you get a community online with you, make it easy for them to do. So make sure you are displaying things, but also have a little bit of an entertaining angle to it. So make it amusing, help them smile whilst they're doing it, especially if it's like an educational point, but make it something that people think, actually, I'd love to do that because it's going to make me happier, healthier, wiser, etc.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
No, I'd love to hear how you get on with doing that, actually.
It's like all part of
Okay, sorry, I just clicked into my tweets there. I'm not quite sure anybody wanted to see that. Have we got some questions from Twitter?
Yes, so astute marketeers have asked, how crucial will faster and more extensive broadband be in making small businesses more effective online?
This is a deja vu of my last night. So last night I was at an event called National Freelancers Day Question Time. And of course, one of the things that freelancers need is broadband, quick broadband. And the question there was, when will broadband get into rural areas so that everybody can have good coverage? And I have saw some stats from BT on this. So in the UK at the moment, 78% of the country has got coverage when it comes to quick fibre broadband, which is brilliant. There are some rural, what they call not spots, which BT and other telecom providers are looking to fill. But actually, more important for me, and it's very topical in terms of the view of today, is some other research that came out this week to celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week said the majority of businesses do have, small businesses, the majority of small businesses in the UK do have internet connections and fast broadband. What they're not doing is they're not leveraging the tools to make the most of it. And this one figure that came out from this research, I can't remember who it was who did it, said if small businesses embraced the digital opportunity that is available via the web, an extra 18 billion would be added to the British economy. And I think there's something really interesting for Small Business Saturday on this, for retail stores who've got physical stores but aren't selling online, which is kind of crazy, because if you've got product, you may as well reach out to a larger base. So I think the question around broadband is, I think broadband in the UK, we've got the best availability across the whole of Europe. So I think we're doing pretty well when it comes to availability. What we're not doing so well on is small businesses that have got access to broadband are not actually using the internet, social media. They're not using the tools to make the most of what we've got. So I hope, astute marketeers, I hope that helps. I wish they could speak back.
We'll let them know.
Yeah, and see if they speak back that way.
In the meantime, our own tech solutions have said, in fact, you've mentioned about the domain name.
Yes.
And they kind of highlighted that sometimes people might want more than one. What do you think about that? Yeah, no, I think that's right. By the fact, Enterprise Nation is a massive domain grabber. Every time we come up with a new idea, we're like, buy the domain names, all of them. I think, and I do sound like a .com fanatic, but the reason why I love .com is I think if you can get a .com, you almost only need the .com, because it gives you that global blanket coverage from the start. And we've heard lots and lots of businesses say how a .com helped them be global from the outset. There's a great business called pinstripeandpearls.com, which is a company that sells British-made designer clothing, run by a great woman called Emma Blake. And Emma Blake quite openly says that she's selling a lot of clothing into the US at the moment. She hasn't done any marketing in the US. She's done no promotion there, but it got picked up because it's very beautiful British tailoring. And she's selling to lawyers on Wall Street and all this kind of fantastic stuff. And she thinks it's having a .com that gave her that credibility that actually Americans think she's an American business just selling British gear. So I do think having a .com, if you've got that, you almost don't need anything else. But with lots of businesses going global very quickly at the moment, what you might want to consider is, if you're doing business in France, consider having .fr, you know, in Switzerland, .ch, in Germany, .de. So you might want to consider, but I'd say only invest in those once you know you're going to get business from those countries. But if you can get a .com, that is the ideal. Advertised by .com. Sponsored by .com. Does that help? I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
How many can they have? One who has the most
domains. Oh, we are terrible. If I look at our accounts, I think we have We recently, I shouldn't say this, should I? We recently registered popupnation.com just in case we ever do any pop-ups. No, we register things all the time. Startup Saturday, I think we have. You've got Small Business Saturday. Yeah. EUon.com, smallbusinesssaturdayuk.com, isn't it?
Yeah, but we've got most of them. They all redirect to the .com.
We have all of them.
SBS UK redirects.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
You see that it does give you brand protection rather than someone saying, you know, hey, we're going to do Small Business Saturday Spain. You're like, well, you can, but come and have a chat with us first because everything directs back to us.
You have another question?
Yeah, we've got time for another one. An interesting one from Howard Robinson. He is asking, he says he meets lots of businesses who think content rather than engagement is the key to social media success, and so clearly he thinks it's engagement, and how can we change that? But of course, we have to find out whether you think that we should change, whether you agree with Howard.
Well, no, great question, Howard. If Howard is watching, hello, Howard, your Small Business Saturday team, say hello. Is he not in Northern Ireland today?
No, he's in Ipswich.
Ipswich. Hello, Howard from Ipswich. Even if you're not watching, I now look ridiculous. But I think it's a great question, and I do think it should be about engagement. And just going back actually to pitching to corporate sponsors, there is a lot of talk at the moment from big brands who are saying what we want is return on engagement. It's a new metric, return on engagement, that's what we want. But content helps engagement. You have to produce content to get people talking about it in the first place. And I think maybe what Howard's point goes back to is this point of you can have social media, and there are some people who just push content out and they hope that somebody reads it, watches it, likes it, doesn't like it, and they just keep pushing it out. But what engagement is getting a conversation going around that topic. So maybe being a little bit controversial, doing surveys that say, hey, 68% of people think this, what do you think? Because of course, selling, which is ultimately what every business has to do, because that's what keeps businesses going, selling is kind of really about a conversation. It's about saying to someone, I have a product or service. I think this could benefit you in this particular way. Do you think that's the same? If so, come and buy from me. If not, tell me how you think it could be better, lighter, more cheaper, more attractive, and then I will maybe change my product to service you as a market. So to get that conversation going, that has to be engagement. And critically, to get customers buying more from you or to keep on coming back, you have to keep them entertained. And that's where engagement comes from. To keep on saying, we'll run competitions, we'll do surveys, we'll be in the press, we'll enter awards that helps us as a business, but starts a conversation point. So engagement is critical. And just a final thing on this, because I think small businesses are brilliantly well positioned to engage with their customers, because small business owners tend to have a very strong opinion on the particular thing that they do. They may be making a product because it is made of particular organic ingredients because they had an issue. Gluten-free, the rise of gluten-free food has been incredible. That creates an opinion piece because somebody said, I cannot find the, okay, I'm going to name a company. There's a great business called Jealous Sweets, which was started because the founder was dating a girl who was vegetarian and he could not find candy that hadn't got pig's trotters essentially in it. And so he started to research the market and he was like, this is crazy. Why is there no candy company that A, has not got pig's trotters in the candy, and B, markets itself to adults rather than kids? There should be a candy company for adults. So he did lots and lots and lots of market research. He's launched a beautiful business called Jealous Sweets, which is now selling in Harrods and Harvey Nichols. But what the founder has got is the story and the provenance behind why he started the company, what drives him now to continue with that company, and that helps with engagement. There's a personality behind it, there's a story there, and there's a compelling reason why he started that company. And big businesses, I love you, Sage, but big businesses don't necessarily have that anymore because the founders aren't there. So what is that thing on which they're engaging? Whereas a small business owner has got everything, their passion, their story, etc. And that's a great point on which you can start to engage.
Do you want to wrap up with a couple of comments?
Okay, so I'm being asked to, I'm being shown the red light. So to wrap up with a couple of comments, I would like to say, or kind of like to ask actually anyone who watching now, here today, thank you for coming, future kind of viewing audience, that we would love to see more businesses online in Britain. And I mentioned these stats in terms of if small businesses did embrace the digital opportunity, it would be 18 billion more in the economy. But still, a figure that I still find amazing is 50% of businesses in the UK don't have a website, small businesses. 50% of small businesses don't have a website, which I think is crazy when you can start for less than £100. You can start by going for a template website or a blog or having a presence on a marketplace. So you can do it on the cheap, you can do it without technical knowledge, you can build your confidence from there. So a big passion we have at Enterprise Nation, I know it's shared by Small Business Saturday, is let's see more small businesses online, making the most of the digital opportunity, and hopefully what today's presentation has given is a few steps to point you in the right direction. So I would just say enjoy Small Business Saturday. Thank you so much to the campaign for inviting me, and I hope your online businesses flourish and succeed.